Awesome. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Doctor. This is the last one of the year. Hard to believe. We're going to finish that up with happiness strategies for 2022. So, if this year wasn't exactly the year that you wanted, you can find ways to create a new one for next year. Please put your questions in the chat. It doesn't have to be just on happiness, health related. The man loves to answer questions. So tonight we will be listening to Dr. Bob Rakowski, who has taught, trained, and lectured doctors all over the world, over 10,000 hours, and we are blessed to have him here with us. So without any further ado, and for the last day of our year, Dr. Bob Rakowski.
Well, thank you always, Carol. Happy, beautiful evening, all. I don't know what number this is. We've done some almost all year. So essentially, maybe I should start, keeping track of episodes. Episode number, who knows, maybe it's number 50. What I like to tell people is, we're all looking for what we're here to do. And I've had plenty of mentors over time. And I finally had someone say, Bob, what are your values? And I thought I knew them, and I spent some time and I thought, okay, you know what? I'm really all about health, happiness, and success. All three. I think all three are absolutely critical to a great life. So I'm going to tell you, I think I'm a very good student of all of the above. And tonight we're going to focus on happiness. So I have taught full day seminars with neurologists from Cornell on brain chemistry. When we start talking about brain chemistry, there's a lot of things that people think about, but understand what most people are concerned about is they don't feel good. They're not happy. They're anxious. Those are the things that are at the top of the list that people want to deal with. And it's been said by many people that happiness may be the ultimate currency. And we're going to talk about proven strategies to absolutely increase your happiness. I like Einstein. I like that picture of him. He was happy when he was creating and delivering and finding and exploring and expanding the universe. And I think he really had a two-part formula for happiness, or if we were to ask him, and that type of wisdom was to tell us the formula. I think the number one part of happiness is connect to your higher self. Maybe even we want to call it your highest self. Most people realize that we're mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, social, financial, impactful beings. And what is the highest part of ourself? Well, likely that spiritual component. And many will say we have an immortal soul. And you know what? That's my belief system. I love that. And you look at all these scientists and they really look at it and they think, okay, that's kind of it, isn't it? We are immortal souls. And that really is the highest part of ourselves. So that's part one. So I'm asking a question, how often is your highest self with you? Well, the experts again would say 24/7, 365. So how do you connect? Well, that's all of our journey, and we can do it, and hopefully we learn to do it effectively and consistently, and then share the guidance from that higher self as we do our absolute best. And that's one thing that's known. How do you build your self-esteem? You do your best. Now, think about that. If someone's not happy, ask them, did you do your best? And if they sit back and go, like I did, well, I'll tell you what, you can feel pretty good about that, no matter what the outcome is, if you've always done your best. But what if you've done less than your best? Well, you know what? Then that's a reason to kind of chisel away at your overall wellness. So as hard as it is, you certainly want to do your best. I like this quote from Deepak Chopra. The higher self is whispering to you softly in the silence between your thoughts. So I've been studying creativity and imagination and intuition. And some people will actually define intuition, which Bob Proctor calls one of our higher faculties, really your higher self just whispering to you, the wisdom of the universe whispering to you. We want to learn to connect to that. We want to learn to honor that. And Abraham Maslow, he wrote about the hierarchy of human needs. And here's what he said was at the top of it. What a man can be, or what one can be, one must be. So think about that for a moment. It is our need to actually be our very best. That is, if we want to be an actualized human, to really, really enjoy this life. And I realized that I've falsely quoted Teddy Roosevelt many, many times, because I always use this quote as do the best that you can with what you've got where you are. And apparently he just said, do what you can. Well, I like it better, do the best that you can. I'm still going to give it to Teddy Roosevelt, but there's the formula for health, success, happiness, and especially if you connect to your higher self. The grandmasters that I've trained under, this is a simple philosophy for greatness. Always do your best, always work to get better, always have fun. And I like that triad. So now we talk about some of the interesting things about being humans, because we look at the physical body and we are hardwired for comfort. We either seek pleasure or avoid pain, or maybe both simultaneously. And that's what we're hardwired to do. But our essence, our being, our highest self, we're wired for growth. So you've probably seen this graphic or something similar. It's very, very easy to find if you start looking at where does growth occur. And the reality is it grows outside of our comfort zone. So, how can we learn to deal with that? If we want to be our best self, we got to get outside our comfort zone. But I'm going to say this, don't go into the crash zone, burn zone, pain zone. Baby steps are a great way to get from where you are to wherever you want to be. And remember Lao Tzu's wisdom, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. And you just keep taking those steps, and ultimately you can get to be where magic happens. So researchers have looked at the question, do some people have a higher happiness set point, and other people lower happiness set points? And the reality is our brain is going to be profoundly influenced by the type of environment that mom had during pregnancy, because, that's supposed to prepare baby for the world that they're being born in. So if mom's in fight or flight, baby's brain is actually very, very good at fight or flight. But I'll go to cancer for a moment, because it's a disease of the genes, but not inherited. And the best of the best are going to say that cancer is 90 to 95% environment. And by the way, the same is true of happiness. Can you create a happiness environment? Can you create a nourishing environment? Can you find a way, regardless of the brain you were born with, the body you were born with, the circumstances that you were born with, to be happy? And the answer is absolutely yes. Chuck Swindoll, pretty good quote. He gives it the full 10%. Life is 10% what happens, 90% how you react to it. Maybe a little greater than that. Your reaction is going to be ever so powerful, but the wisdom is absolutely there. So Daniel Amen is a psychiatrist, and he pioneered studying the brain with brain scans. He's got a TED Talk that is entitled "What I Learned After 83,000 Brain Scans." And what he learned is that you can change your brain. But he coined this term ANTS, automatic negative thoughts. And below are some examples. I hate something. Well, that's automatically negative. What if I fail? I'm not blank enough, good enough, tall enough, smart enough, young enough, old enough, rich enough, poor enough. I don't know, whatever would fit into that. You're enough. You absolutely are. Just do the best you can with what you've got where you are. And what if I fail? Well, simple enough. Everybody does. And it's a stepping stone towards success. Fall down 7 times, rise 8. Never hate anything. Your language is powerful. So love, 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 love. I'd love to show you a better way to do it, because that other way may not be serving you as well as you want it. So I listened to a TED Talk this weekend about fulfillment, personal achievement, etc. And one of the guy's tips was don't watch the news. And one of my mentors gave me that tip probably 30 years ago. I probably violated that more this year than any other year, checking out some of the fake news on the virus. And if you really look at the data, it's not that big a deal. 99.7% survival rate. It's not even the worst flu in modern times. But something's very wrong with the story being told. But here's what this guy said. If he asked what's happening in the world, everything's happening in the world. Everything's always happened in the world. Everything always will happen in the world. And he used the example of the Amazon rainforest. He says, what happens in the Amazon rainforest? He says, well, I promise you, at any moment in time, there's going to be a snake eating a rat. Okay, well, if you want to watch that, okay, that's where you could focus your attention. Or maybe there's some hummingbirds being born. And, to me, I love the miracle of life. I don't think I'd be offended by a snake eating a rat. That's the ecosystem. But, you get the comparison. The miracle of life is beyond beautiful. And he said, you know what, choose what you focus on. And that's what Dr. Amen would tell you as well. In terms of what he's calling automatic negative thoughts, well, you've had too much negativity around you. So surround yourself with all goodness. Learn to focus on good, learn to find the good, learn to be the good. And Gandhi said that, right? Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Robin Sharma has a new book. I just found it today. So guess what? I bought it. I love Robin Sharma, phenomenal life coach, a sage of wisdom. But here's his law of focus. What you focus on grows. So whatever you're going to concentrate on, you're going to see more of that in your life. He just rephrased the wisdom of sages throughout time. So David Goggins, I started, on an interesting Goggins tangent this weekend because he was 285 pounds, not happy at all. In fact, just plain miserable. And he decided that he was going to run a 100-mile race at 285 pounds, no training, not the right shoes, not the right gear, showed up to run this 100-mile race with, a wheelbarrow full of saltines and gallons of water. And while he was running, he broke both his legs. He fractured his shins. He duct taped them up. He lost 7 toenails. He was peeing blood. He dehydrated. He nearly died. And someone asked, well, why in the heck would anybody ever do this? And I pursued that question. And it turns out that some people have so much emotional pain that a physical pain like that is actually a release. And I think if we talk to David Goggins, he might say that that was absolutely the case. And you look at his transformation, I mean, he was not doing well there, but obviously tough as nails, and then tough, fit, amazing after that. But there's more ways to get than that. So again, near death, danger of kidney failure, peeing blood, 7 toenails falling off. And he wrote his book, Can't Hurt Me. And by the way, he also pooped his pants, right? Not so fun either, and continued to run. But it's probably right. You can't hurt him because he's put himself through all the pain that any human could ever go through. But here's what I'm going to tell you. You don't have to do that. So they used to have a TV show called The Biggest Loser. I'd rather call it The Biggest Winner. And I think that was something like a 90-day transformation for the person that won that year. And here's what I can tell you, with the right coaching, with the right program, with the right strategy, if your goal is to be your best self, you can get there without, the level of pain that Goggins put himself through. But guess what? You've got to get out of that comfort zone. And then we ultimately start looking at what drives behavior. I like the idea that it is our identity. So you might not recognize that as a young Muhammad Ali named Cassius Clay at the time, but he said, I am the greatest. And then he did what the greatest would do. He got up early, he trained hard, he got great coaches, he paid attention to his nutrition. He learned the mental game, the physical game, the emotional game, the spiritual game, even the financial game, and he won really big in life. And ultimately, he became the greatest. And in fact, Sports Illustrated said he was the greatest athlete of the entire last century. But fascinating thing about Ali, he claimed it before he ever knew that he was. And can we speak greatness onto ourselves and others? Absolutely. There's something called the Pygmalion effect, and that's a myth. But bottom line is we can speak greatness into others, and it has been studied. And by the way, he'd put in the hard work. If he was going to win, he won with his preparation. Very, very powerful there. So while we're talking about value and self-worth, that's a big part of happiness. And I like this quote. I don't know who to attribute it to. I randomly heard it. It's something that was playing in the background. But the fastest way to increase your value is to raise your self-worth. And I always love that picture of that kitten seeing his or herself as a tiger. Back to the theme of do your best. Finally, gratitude. There are 130 PubMed studies. I just did that little search just before getting here. And you look, it goes back, to 1987 was the first, and then sparse. And then just looks like over the last decade, the majority of those studies. Well, why are they studying it? They found out it's good for health, happiness, and success. And here's one of the PubMeds. So when people kept a gratitude journal, they just wrote down things that they were thankful for every single day. Increased positive affect, that means they had a happy mood. Subjective happiness, life satisfaction, reduced negative affect and depression symptoms, all those happened with the gratitude journal. And here's the amazing thing. How long did they have to journal for? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So why not start and end your day with a gratitude journal? Today, I am thankful for. People like Bob Proctor would say, preface every sentence with that. Today, I am grateful for health. Today, I'm grateful for wisdom. Today, I am grateful for my family. Today, I'm grateful, whatever it is. He likes to just consistently repeat that thankful thing. And by the way, sometimes we need a kick in the butt. So I really like this Rocky talk to his son, and I'm going to play it because I think it's amazing.
I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's going to be the best kid in the world. This kid's going to be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you look good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. And the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit. Moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not point fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. Best thing in my life. So you start believing in yourself.
So phenomenal speech. I like to watch that on occasion. I think every one of us needs that pep talk now and then. One of my favorite ways for happiness, Ganoderma, also known as reishi, also known as Ling Chi, thousands of medical studies, perfectly safe, wonderfully healthy. And I like to think of it as happiness in a cup because I have plenty of people that feel a better brain, body, and life by consuming it. And that wraps that up. And we shall now go to questions.
Okay, my friends, it is time to put some questions in this chat for us today. Karen did comment that her son read the book Can't Hurt Me and loved it, so now he's having his brother read it. And lots of compliments on the videos. Come on, guys, we're not leaving this year without some positivity. Let's go, guys. If I can be positive, you can be positive.
So true.
Claudio, let's go.
All right, sure. Happy, beautiful evening, everyone. Dr. Bob, can you elaborate on the oh my God, the weight loss challenge that we're going to be doing just after January? Can just in preparation for everybody as well. I'm gung ho. I'm gung ho to do that again. So this will hit. I'll get below my 200s. So.
Of course, and so we have a group. It's called the 7-Day Transformation Challenge, and they specify, the OGX shakes, which are Ganoderma infused, promoting fat loss by multiple mechanisms. They're great for blood sugar, great for inflammatory process, great for brain chemistry, great for satiety, wonderful for stress, phenomenal for the thyroid. They promote detox. And what it says on the lead into that page is lose 4 to 14 pounds, or maybe release, right? We don't want to lose it because we can find it, but release 4 to 14 pounds in 7 days. And I think that's been the average that I've seen. It's fascinating that I have a mother-daughter team that started it. And I think that between them, they lost over 20 pounds, and they didn't want to stop at 7 days. They went 10. And mom was, at the time, something like 55 and mom was 75 and daughter 55. Then they decided to do it again and keep going during the last year. And between them, they lost 100 pounds. And now they both look absolutely amazing, probably like 20 years younger. So it's a Facebook group called the 7-Day Transformation Challenge. Anybody that's, part of our team can invite people to it. Anybody can get in. You just have to be Facebook friends. And it just gives guidelines and menus and tips and easy enough, shakes multiple times a day, vegetables, and see how it goes. And when we start looking at New Year's resolutions, near the top is always weight loss. And it probably should be. They now have the term globesity. And so much of the world is overweight. And it just turns out to be a risk factor for so many things. So wonderful way to reset and start. So, yep. And by the way, you don't have to wait till January 1. You could start now and get the jump start. So
I'm enjoying the fit to immensely right now, though.
Well, and you're doing well as well. And I still remember one of those phenomenal quotes from one of my mentors. If you're in a rut, stop digging. That would be one way. And then, by the way, a rut is just a grave that hasn't been sealed over yet. So get out of there, so.
Okay. All right. Couple of questions for you. Ready to go. How to heal a sore throat. Yes, Andrea has one too. I see ya. How to heal a sore throat and cough.
Well, I got to tell you, there's a lot of potential causes, and so one is that acid reflux that can do it. You want to fix the acid reflux. Acid reflux is often due to too little stomach acid, which is, by the way, the most common problem. And when I talk about the gut, I tell people that we've known since 1969, the journal Gut, that acid actually causes what's called the lower esophageal sphincter to contract. And so having acid in your stomach prevents acid reflux. Journal Surgery 1989 said if they actually added acid to the gut with supplemental acid, guess what? They prevented acid reflux. So when people are taking acid blockers, they get worse. There's plenty of people doing that. So that's a potential cause. Is it a bacteria? Is it a virus? Is it dry? Is it allergies? We want to get after cause and effect. And the pretty amazing thing with all the above that I just mentioned, Ganoderm is good for it. It's good if there's acid reflux. It's good if it's virus. It's good if it's bacteria. It's good if it's allergy. So that's good too. I like people to gargle with salt water. And I had a young man that had extreme acid reflux where they told him, you either take acid blockers for the rest of your life or you're going to have esophageal cancer before you're 40. And we were able to correct it so fast by pulling down a hiatal hernia, giving him hydrochloric acid, and having him just literally pour honey down his throat, let it trickle down his throat for a good part of the day. And it was, this problem that had been so nagging for so long was completely healed in something like 4 or 5 days. Aloe vera can work as well. Aloe vera gel, anything mucilaginous, gargle deep with salt water if you think you have an infection. You might see a fever and swollen lymph nodes. That's the case. But ultimately, we want to know what's causing it and address cause and effect. And for all the things I mentioned, Ganoderm was pretty good for that. So it could be an adjunct to any therapy you do.
Perfect. Andrea has a question, and I know Rhonda has some comments too, but we've got some more questions. So go ahead, Andrea.
You're muted. You're muted.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now,
can.
Dr. Bob?
Yep.
Hi, everyone. I just have a question about the 7-day challenge. I just wanted to know, I'm actually, I'm recovering from COVID right now. And I wanted to know, is it okay for me or anybody else to participate in a 7-day challenge with the shakes if we're recovering from COVID? Or
you look pretty recovered now to me. I'd look at you and I'd say you look good enough to do it. I think if I were really suffering, and by the way, I purposely got COVID in 2020, and lifetime immunity is awesome. That's what we're all going for. And there's a couple of days I felt horrible, and I don't know that I ate anything at all on the 2 days that I felt horrible. So But if you're up for it, do it. And if you're not, give yourself a break, wait till you're up for it. But you look like you're wonderfully recovered. So
Oh,
good
actually,
job.
I'm at the end of it, and I actually purposely got it as well, Dr. Bob. So I needed to prove natural immunity, and I've been taking 2 spores an hour, and I was able to get out of COVID using the 2 spores an hour, just to let everybody know. So yay, natural immunity.
Well, you're absolutely right there. And you know what? I think I posted this maybe the other week. I'm trying to think of when I did it because I did it so many times. But the first thing I did when it came out is I said, okay, what worked for SARS-CoV-1? And there were over 30 remedies, a blend of natural and otherwise. Then I listened to a phenomenal PhD immunologist, and I looked at his favorites and other people's favorites. And so Ganoderma is at my top. Spores are the most powerful. Colostrum, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, all those are my top 5. But keep in mind, there's up to 30 that can work, and looks like your program worked really well. So congratulations, and lifetime immunity is a good thing to have. Well done.
Thank you.
Excellent. Is high calcium a concern? Is the next question.
Well, I guess there's a right amount for everything. High calcium where? Are we talking about high calcium in the blood, high calcium in the urine, high calcium in the bone, high calcium in the diet, high calcium in the universe? I don't know. I don't know where that is, but generally we're probably talking about blood calcium, and then there could be a vitamin D problem, there could be a parathyroid hormone problem. It's usually not a dietary problem. There's a regulation problem, and based on how the question's asked, I'm going to say probably that we have lab ranges for a reason, and if it's out of lab range, then we need to figure out why and ultimately work to correct it. So now when people take vitamin D3, there was a question about, are they going to absorb too much calcium and other challenges like that? And what was found a couple decades ago already is the combination of D3, K2 prevents any issues with calcium. And so for 2 decades plus, that's the combination that I've consistently used. And I've dosed people big. We want people to have a good range. Since we already mentioned the virus, it's been one public health expert, and I thought this was a pretty powerful statement and overstated. He said the top 3 strategies for the virus: vitamin D, and vitamin D. Well, I get your point. It's important, and it's a global deficiency. So vitamin D is good to focus on. And by the way, NIH talks about even though they suspect over 100 blood level is toxic for vitamin D, they say in animal studies, they raised the level to over 400 without any toxicity noted. So that's pretty powerful.
Amazing. Xavier asks, what would you recommend for psoriasis? A customer tried the OG soap, but stopped as her skin is red and irritated. Is there any other suggestion?
Well, you got to work on it from the inside out, and it's autoimmune in nature. So I actually did a happiness Zoom with a completely different format earlier today with our noontime Ask the Doctor, or what time was it? 1:15 Ask the Doctor. And one of the testimonials there from Lloyd Chambers was complete and total resolution from psoriasis, just with Ganoderma, which is interesting. But there's 6 universal immune modulators. You seal and heal the gut. 2 Chinese botanicals. One is Ganoderma, the other is perilla-seed. Vitamin D3, the resolvin form of omegas, and DHEA. These are the things that are universal immune modulators, and I recommend all 6. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do a very tight elimination diet until the gut is sealed and healed. 7-day transformation challenge could be a great start.
Perfect. Pete asks, after saying good evening, Pete, what supplements do you take, and can we do another Ask the Doctor on supplements and their benefits?
Well, of course. And so I always quote the journal Advances in Therapy, where they took people age matched, health matched, and they literally did tissue biopsies, and they measured the nutrient level in the tissues. Then they put both groups on a fantastic macronutrient balanced organic diet. And one group got the diet and supplementation. And when they biopsied the tissue at a later date, they found out that the people that just ate the really good diet did not improve their nutrient status at all. So the conclusion was food is too weak to replete depleted cells and bodies. Therefore, supplementation is advisable for everybody. And I've talked through my nutrition pyramid. And I tell the story. I was lecturing in Orlando, Florida at the time. The keynote speaker at the conference was Barry Sears, and he had just completed his book called The Zone. And he put up a copy of the USDA food pyramid. And there was his comment about it was, if ever there was a terrorist-like plot designed to destroy the health of the world, this would be it. And so I thought, I'm going to create my own nutrition pyramid. And so I put food at the base. And then, if God made it, it's okay. If man made it, stay away. That's from Jack LaLanne. And Michael Pollan said, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And then, of course, I tweaked that. Eat real food, eat clean food, not too much, not too often, every color, every day, in a way that honors your genetics, your physiology, and your health goals, mostly plants. And that's how I eat, by the way. And then we go to superfoods. Ganoderma is my favorite. There's, dozens of them, but that's the undisputed king of superfoods, king of herbs. Then we go to functional foods. There's over 80,000 PubMed studies on fortified foods with proven health benefits like the OGX shake. Then we go with a multivitamin, multimineral, activated form of omega-3s, resolvins, 2,000 plus published studies on that. The support of the microbiome appropriate for the patient. And then finally, a combination of D3, K2. And that's the nutrition pyramid. But keep in mind, we're mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, social, financial, impactful. We need to eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right. And you know what? We do that, we're going to be okay. But keep plugging in. We'll probably give you a nugget that you can act on every week. Remember, baby steps. So maybe your first baby step, if God made it, it's okay. If man made it, stay away. And then Ganoderma is going to cover a lot of bases because it's got all the fabulous 50 and really good stuff in it.
Awesome. Rhonda has a quick testimony. If she is still with us. Are you here, Rhonda?
All right, try to make it compliant without naming health conditions.
Exactly. That's why we don't normally do them. Rhonda, did you want to talk?
Carol, where are you?
She's here. I can see her. She's on here.
You can? I don't see her at the moment.
Yeah. Rhonda Mullet. Okay, we'll come back. Claudio put in the chat oregano oil. I assume that was in answering a question.
Well, it's an antimicrobial as well. So
For the sore throat, yes, earlier. But I also have a testimonial on psoriasis for Xavius. It's in the Miracle of Organo Facebook group. And you'll see not recovery, but a reduction in psoriasis, probably about 9 weeks, about 33% of it in the Miracle of Organo.
Thank you. Pete, how much olive oil should a person swallow to cleanse the gallbladder?
well, you want to be ready to cleanse the gallbladder. And so, there's probably a YouTube video on gallbladder flush. And I like to tell people you don't want to flush a hot gallbladder. So if someone has an inflamed gallbladder and you give a bunch of oil, you might put them in crises. So we don't want to do that. And then there is the disclaimer that if you're going to flush the gallbladder, and by the way, I'm going to tell this story. In fact, I think I can share screen. So I've got a video, and I when I played this video in Los Angeles, that was part of a, let's do this. Let's do that. I'm gonna go back to there. New slide. I was giving a lecture in Los Angeles, and I played this video testimonial. This guy was told that he had an autoimmune liver disease and that he'd be dead by the end of the year if he didn't get a liver transplant. And we got it to completely resolve. And he was doing regular gallbladder flushes. And let's see, there we go. Insert. Now back to sharing my screen. I'm going to get more to drink as I play this video. Some of it's doctor speak, so skip past that. But the guy was supposed to die, and look how good he looks there.
Okay, we are rolling. It's March 2nd of 2006. I've got Jim Thornhill here. Jim, you came in mid-January of this year, and what was your concern at that point in time?
Well, I'd been diagnosed with a liver issue, but was going to end up telling me my liver was failing, and at some point I was going to have a liver transplant. I was losing weight. I was pretty ill, weak, and tired.
Okay, now you gained some weight this time.
Yeah, I gained 11 pounds.
Are you worried about that?
I'm, I don't want to get any heavier, but no, I think I gained some muscle coming back, and I feel better.
Yeah, you actually gained 4.7 pounds of muscle. You gained a pound of fat, and you actually have 3 liters more of fluid. 2 liters more inside the cell, 1 liter outside. And by the way, very healthy people, their ratio is 2/3 of the fluid inside, 1/3 outside. So your body made a very, very healthy fluid shift. How's your day-to-day activity changed?
Much better. I was a pretty active person in the afternoon. I was looking, I needed a nap. I couldn't get enough sleep. And now I still need to get a good night's rest. And I'm tired at night, but I work all day.
On a scale of 0 to 100, 0 no change, 100 perfect ideal, your old self in 6 weeks, how much better are you?
I'd say I'm 50, 60.
Nice change. How difficult has this program been for you?
It's been a little bit of a challenge just because of travel, but other than that, I think I've done pretty well. I think I'm probably 85, 90% staying right with it. And it's been pretty easy.
Now, you did a liver gallbladder flush,
Correct.
and you think you passed something.
I know I passed something. I'm doing this flush. I've been doing it like once a month, and then I did it 2 weeks ago when I passed probably 8 to 10 stones that were
Show me with your fingers now.
about the size of a small marble. And I don't know whether they're stones or not, but they're a green substance, very dense, and something came out of my body.
Okay, you had some pain in your side before.
Yeah,
Where was your pain?
right around my rib cage. Around the front, it's like a constant stitch or cramp. It's pretty much gone.
Okay, pretty much. So on a scale of 0 to 100, 0, none of it remaining, and 100 being full blown, really aggravating.
Probably about 80% gone.
Oh, 80% gone. So it's down to it. Yeah, okay, it's down to a 20 what was left before.
I mean, I don't get it now until now. I don't have it right now. It's gone, and it was constant before.
That's fantastic. Do you have advice for future patients?
Try. I came in looking for an alternative because I didn't like the prognosis that I had in hand. It's worth taking a shot.
Do I have your permission to share this information with doctors, students, and patients everywhere?
Sure.
Any conditions on that?
Absolutely. No conditions.
Thank you.
Okay, so the reason I play that is, he did really well with the gallbladder flushes, and I have a funny story about that. So there's a risk if you're passing stones, it could get caught in the common bile duct and it could be a medical emergency. And I've never seen that in 30 years. I've never seen that, but it's a possibility. And anyway, so there was a surgeon in my audience in Los Angeles when I was playing that video, and he stood up, he says, "No way, that's ridiculous." And I said, "What's ridiculous?" He says, "Well, there's no way you're going to tell me that you're going to pass a stone that big through a duct that big, as big around as the pinky." And my brain sometimes works too fast and my mouth ran off, and I just looked at him. I said, "How big is a baby?" And then literally the whole audience started laughing, and I didn't want to make the guy look bad or throw him under the bus, but I said, "Look, human tissue can stretch." And I have no doubt that, guess what? This guy was full-blown jaundice. He had autoimmune liver issues. Medical experts told him he was going to need a transplant or die. And he flew across the country to see me because I had helped someone else that was, told something similar. And what a fun story. So back to the gallbladder flush. So you got to make sure the gallbladder is calm before you flush it. And so, I teach kinesiology and different reflex points. And, if you go under your rib cage by right where the gallbladder is, if there's a tender spot there to the touch, I would tell lay people, don't flush your gallbladder until that tenderness is gone. You got to bring that back to pretty calm. Now, if you're going to a good doctor that can evaluate that, awesome. Now the question about how much do you take? Quite a bit. 8 ounces, 12 ounces, 16 ounces, whatever you can handle, probably not more than 16. I've had people bring me stones, by the way, like Jim, was sharing. You can go on the internet and Google gallstones and be pretty amazed at what they are, but do it right, make sure it's calmed down, and then probably start easy. There's plenty of people that have done a bunch of gallbladder flushes. And remember, Jim said he had done quite a few. And on that one, things finally resolved. So that was pretty amazing.
Awesome. Beatrice asks, Dr. Bob, how can I tell if I'm allergic to spores? What symptoms should I look for?
It could be anything under the sun. I mean, when you start looking at allergy, what I tell people is, I think the term is overused. There's blood markers for allergy. They're called eosinophils. And quite simply, figure out what your eosinophils are, and there's a possibility that, since I know who's asking the question, I could look at that and see if that appeared to be an issue. But if that appears to be it, if the eosinophils are elevated, you stop it for a period of time, they should come down pretty quick. The lifespan of white cells are pretty short. Stop for a week, we ought to see it drop substantially, and then bring it on again and see if it comes up. And that's how you would tell if it's an allergy. Now, it would be kind of rare because there's so many molecules that balance the immune system. There's PubMed studies on the anti-allergy benefit, anti-autoimmune benefit, the detox benefit, the seal and heal the gut benefit, even though it's possible. But we do the blood markers there. But keep in mind, it also is a very powerful detoxification agent. And when you detoxify, as I've taught people for years, the symptoms of chronic poisoning include fatigue, sleep disturbance, intestinal distress, allergy symptoms, headaches, confusion, and anxiety. Any one of those things can increase, and you can even create your own if you want on top of that. So, we can do the blood work and see.
Awesome. Xavier asks, which OG products did she use to recover from the psoriasis?
He was asking Claudio. Lloyd used the spores, but
yeah, that was me, I guess. Yes, it would have been just a coffee. His preference was latte and spores every waking hour, and now it's for 9 weeks.
Okay, thanks, Claudio. I don't know why, Rhonda. I'm trying to unmute you from this end, and it won't let me either. Xavier says thank you.
I think Rhonda got it.
Did it?
Rhoda got it.
Got it, Rhonda.
Rhoda.
Okay. I have been overstimulated all of my life by action movies, and I was going with my kids to the Spider-Man movie, and I knew I was probably not going to be able to watch it. Before I left, I took 2 Spore and 2 Mycelium, and I enjoyed 2.5 hours of that movie. So I don't know what difference it made, but it did something neurologically to my brain that I could actually sit there and enjoy it on a big screen.
That's epic. I love it. And by the way, I happen to love those kind of movies, so I'm glad you can now enjoy them too.
That's awesome. A lot of thank yous. Claudia says that's awesome. Everyone says this is great. Looks like he's wearing an Organo 12-month Achiever watch. Who is that?
Yeah, a little short video that Dr. Bob actually had on recently. Is he a business partner? It looks like he is.
The guy with the liver
gentleman with the liver. Yep.
That was 2006. So no, that one goes back a while ago.
Just looks like it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rhonda. Okay, gonna be the best me I can be in 2022 going forward. Excellent, Pete. Love it. And Beatrice says, thank you very much, Dr. Bob. Does anybody else have anything to add for the night? Oh, here we go. If you're in good, I assume, shape and want to optimize your health, how much mycelium and Ganoderma could you consume?
Could you or should you is an interesting question. I mean, there's no limit to what you could. There's the law of diminishing returns. You go beyond a certain point and you're not likely to get benefit. I tell most people that if you have a reasonable coffee and tea habit, you probably don't even need the capsules. Now I keep them on hand in case, I train hard or I'm getting ready for something, or maybe I want to go to a Spider-Man movie. That's a phenomenal metaphor there, because sometimes you just want to get past things. And, but me at 6 cups of coffee a day, there's probably no need for me to take capsules, but I do when I either, train hard or, am around quite a few sick people. That can happen on occasion, but I just keep my defenses up. So a few doses a day for someone who's healthy ought to be just fine to get you, in that plus zone of better defense and offense, really, too.
They added in if you are bodybuilding as well.
Well, then you're training harder. So you need more. You need more recovery, the anti-inflammatory benefit. So the Ulysses video is only a minute long, but it's worth playing. And I don't know if Delina's on there because I haven't looked closely at who's there and who's not tonight, but she was part of a huge fitness community, probably still is. And there was this marvelous Margie that was a runner-up in Miss Olympia or top 10 or something like that. And I worked on her at a sports conference, which was fun. But let me go to my Zoom. Let me share screen. And let's see what Ulysses had to say.
This is how I start my day, guys. I get in early in the morning, get my cup of coffee, in this case, healthy coffee, all right? It's organic gold with Ganoderma in it. It's good stuff right here. Keeps me focused, alert for the day. I work a lot, sometimes 60, 65 hours a week, and I train. I got a family, so it's a bit crazy, but this stuff keeps me focused, and it's great for you too. It's great for your immune system. It boosts your immune system up, so it's very good stuff to have in the morning. Make sure you check it out. Ganoderma. Peace. What do we need to train? We need oxygen, and the herb in this coffee called Ganoderma. Ganoderma is an incredible nitrate donor. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in the human body because it is what signals the wall of blood vessels to relax. Normal coffee is acidic and has a pH of about 5, and when we exercise, we create even more acid. This coffee has a pH of around 7, which means it promotes alkalinity within the body, all right? It's an anti-inflammatory, and it also has some antioxidant properties that are great for you. It helps build your immune system, and it's a win-win situation, guys. I like to get Ganoderma in my system when I'm training because it actually supercharges my brain function, and it helps me concentrate more while I'm training. This all amounts to a quicker recovery and a healthier body. I believe these products have helped me with my workouts, my recovery, and my health. And I personally believe these products would help you too.
That's amazing.
It is, so you can't overdo it. Do it, see what you see, keep getting better.
Awesome. We do have another question in the chat. What to take to improve sexual function for a male, asking for a friend.
All right, well, same question. We got to figure out what's causing the problem. And I still remember Dr. Ruth Westheimer, and maybe there's not many of us old enough to know who that was, but this absolutely funny, short German physician that was talking about sex all the time. And she said the most important sex organ is the one between your ears. And how powerful is that, right? So you got to get the mind right. You got to buffer the stress. We want to figure out those things. So stress reset can be really, really good. You need nitric oxide. Ganoderma is great for nitric oxide, but so is beetroot, and there's other things there. But inflammation is the enemy of nitric oxide, and it just devours and destroys nitric oxide. So ultimately figure out what's causing the problem, pick up the nitric oxide, enhance the circulation, make sure the nervous system is good. I think that's one thing that I see people that they weren't too concerned about their diabetes until it affects their sexual function. But then often their body's so destroyed that their libido's gone too, and then they just have a real unhappy partner. So, I'll share a story. I've got a couple that I really love, and they've been patients all 30 years, and I've got 30 years of data on them. And it could be someone I'm looking at the screen, Carol. It could be you and Jean too, but I'm thinking of a different couple. But they came in and I ran their numbers, and I said, wow, you've really done a good job staying healthy. And I love the answer. They said, you know what? We made a commitment to one another. We just decided that, remember the philosophy, you take care of me and I'll take care of you. Well, that's shallow. I'll take care of me for you. If you'll please take care of you for me, is what works best. And so they made a commitment to each other that they would stay in good health, and they've done it. And how wonderful is that?
That is awesome. Devin asks, it would be great to have that video. So where would we find that video for Ulysses?
You know what? I probably can put it in the chat here. I'll grab my cell phone.
Awesome. And other than that, I am at the end of questions. We're getting to the top of the hour. Are there any pressing questions before we enter a new year and have a fantastic new year?
Carol, it's Claudio again. I posted in the group actually for anybody to increase their sharpness. So this was for Alice.
Yep.
She fired up the question. The neuro tracker with the CXT is absolutely phenomenal. And Dr. Bob may want to elaborate or touch on that if you'd like.
Excellent. Well, we'll let him send the video first.
So Carol, I sent it via messenger.
Got it. And could you speak to the CXT with NeuroTracker while I'm finding it?
Yeah, and so, you know, the way that the Organo NeuroTracker partnership happened was very, very simple. A high-level influencer, you know, had a phenomenal benefit in the CXT score, sorry, in the NeuroTracker scores while consuming Organo products, and his favorite was green tea. And so Organo said, well, that's pretty fascinating. We know it's good for the brain. Let's do a pilot study and see if it improves cognition. And so people that consumed Organo products improved their brain 130% more over the first 90 minutes. And that was 20 years of data on NeuroTracker on every demographic. So very, very powerful benefit there. And so the CXT, the cognition formula, was formulated quite simply to enhance brain chemistry. It's got a spore probiotic, it's got B12, it's got theanine, it's got cordyceps, it's got Ganoderma, it's got lion's mane. I think their absolute best product. And I do a few a day, and you know, I do it hot, I do it cold, I do it sparkle, I do it flat, I do it a lot of different ways, and it's beyond amazing. And I'm trying to think if I told this story, but last week I had a individual come in whose son has the potential to play professional golf. And you know, the whole family's patients, and I said, you know, how's everything going with golf? He goes, oh my God, he's playing out of his mind. You know, he's finished in the top 10 in the last 10 tournaments. He's just playing awesome. I said, what does it take to get him to the next level? He says, well, it's got to be his concentration. So I told him the story about another collegiate golfer that I had, that was his complaint. He came in, he says, look, I have a hard time focusing. So this was pre-CXT. So I made him a latte while he was in the clinic. And he said, oh my gosh, he says, my brain just feels amazing. And so I gave him a little challenge. He's a very, very cocky young man. And, you know, that serves you well in some ways in athletics. You want to be confident. And I said, when's your next tournament? He says, well, this coming weekend. I said, all right, simple enough, right? Drink a latte before your first tee, drink a latte after the ninth, and you can carry someone if you want. And I said, I predict you'll have your best round ever. So he came in the following week. And by the way, I would have done a Facebook Live instantly with him, but his coach wisely bans him from social media. He says, it's an absolute distraction. You're banned. Don't do it, you know? So anyways, he's sitting in my waiting area and I said, well, how'd you do? And he had this smile on his face. He says, well, I didn't have my best round ever. I said, okay, fair enough. How'd you do? He said, I won by 17 strokes. And I said, wait a minute. How in the world do you win by 17 strokes and not have your best round ever? He said, well, there were 50-mile-an-hour winds, so no one played well. He said, but my short game was unbeatable, you know? So there you have it, right? Drive for show, putt for dough. He got the dough, no dough because it was an amateur tournament, but you know, and I told him this story. So this guy immediately bought the family membership to NeuroTracker and CXT for the family and put it on auto ship. So, you know, he gets it, which is awesome.
That is awesome. You're very welcome, Cheryl. So video you guys wanted is in the chat. If you guys haven't got it yet, take your time to copy it over there. We are at the top of the hour, so I guess it's time to thank this amazing man for guiding us through 2021 and look forward to 2022 with more of his amazing teachings.
We're going to have a great 2022. I predict a much better year for absolutely everybody in the world. By the way, as long as we connect to our highest self and show up with our best, right? So
I guarantee mine will be a better year.
guaranteed. All right. Good night, all.
Thank you,
God bless.
Dr. Bob.
Thanks,
Thanks
Dr.
again.
Bob.
Happy, beautiful evening, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Bob.